Hello and welcome back to my workshop. It has been a minute since I've been back on YouTube, so I guess it's time for an update. So there's a lot to go over. I will try and make this brief, and then that will take us into what I'm going to be working on over the next day, week, month, lifetime. So SEMA was absolutely exhausting, the build up to it, everything. We've got the Atlas Harlequin outside and the Golf Harlequin here. There is a proper bunch of videos up on SCP Euro about that. It's also all over their TikTok about what it took to get the engine in. However, the engine still isn't running because I went silly with it and we did the very latest Atlas engine. So as you can kind of see, there is, Atlas fuel tanks, fuel pump modules, everything else. I'll go into that more with them, but basically there's another engine harness there. There's so much stuff happening on that. So let's leave that one for a minute and move on to the Mk8 Golf GTI. This is a giveaway car with LIQUIMOLY. LIQUIMOLY with a bunch of other awesome people, Unitronic, Rotiform, Yokohama, Bilstein. This literally is actually acutely the very first Mk8 in the USA on the Bilstein Evo coilovers. And this car is literally being given away, or one very, very like it. This is actually a, for illustration purposes, European one. What is not for illustration purposes is the Oettinger body kit that also comes with it, the Recaro seats. So basically, everything that you're seeing is included with the car that you will receive a proper full USA specification car, 6-speed manual, 2-liter turbo, 2022 Volkswagen Golf GTI. All you got to do is go to liquimoly.com, throw your name and email address in the ring, and you're done. There's a link right on the main page. Right, next, Mk8 Jetta. It is here and tucked away because I've moved cars around a little bit. This is here, the Golf Country left and is now on display in a dealership. Not for sale, just for storage in the winter for me, but also to give them something interesting to talk about. So now the Golf Rally has moved up there. Right, got to make space for more cars that are coming, but we'll get into that in just a minute. Volkswagen Caddy van, the Caddy van USA, hand assembled here in the USA. Never got the wipers to work. Well, now my dad is visiting from Europe. Continent of Europe. He's actually from England. And he has been working on the hybrid relay to LIN bus system that we're going to be building, probably using Arduinos, or a Arduino, which is a small little microprocessor. I mean, it's, if you're aware of the Raspberry Pi computers, Arduino is a system on a chip. It's very basic, and we'll take inputs. We can load up our C++ code into it, and it will spit it out into LIN bus. So that's the idea there. Okay, the great big crate in the middle of the room. This is going to be the second last thing we talk about in this very brief update, which, let's take a moment to pause and say, is brought to you by the Suspension Source. Literally the nicest people based in Fresno, California. It is the home of Solo-Werks coilovers, but they are officially the biggest seller of KW and ST suspension in the USA for the last year, I believe. I say officially, you might have to double check me on that, but let's go with it. Everyone that works there is a huge suspension nerd, huge car nerd, so please reach out to them with your questions, or indeed if you want to buy a set of Solo-Werks, STs, KW, it is your suspension source, thesuspensionsource.com. All right, the crate, which is why I'm talking about suspension source as well. I, during SEMA, took a 2,000-mile detour and drove all the way up to Seattle, Washington, and bought a very well cared for but very broken R32 Mark IV Red 2004, and its engine is completely disassembled, and it's inside of this crate. The cylinder head, literally a bare block, almost everything that's needed. Everything that's not in there is in these boxes here from SCP Euro. So an entire gasket set, because it's going to need a head gasket. It's going to need all the gaskets. And then water pump. And then, hey, a Hanks filter. Timing chains. Something else. Chain tensioner, that's a good one, you need that. Answers on a postcard? Ignition coils, 6 of them. So I've got to take this over to Schimmel Performance, but this is going to be another video coming probably tomorrow, maybe. You asked for editing, you don't get editing. We literally just do updates as fast as I possibly can right now because I'm just working flat out. Okay, going back to the 3.6. I now have 3 different ECUs. Unitronic deimmobilized one of them, which does appear to be working. The way that's happening right now is the car will start and it will shut off after half a second. So I'm running all sorts of things on VCDS, monitoring the fuel pressure, everything else. Just trying to get to the bottom of what's happening, but pushing it. Anyway, again, go check out SCP Euro for full details on that. We talked about the R32, deadline for that. Let's say Wookiees in the woods. Where's the car, you may ask? Well, it's literally sitting at the suspension source. I bought the car, towed it to California, left the body, wheels, interior, everything. Glenn, founder of Solo-Werks, and the suspension source, and I built this crate and had it trucked here. Now it's arrived, so I've got to open it, sort everything out, put all the new parts from SCP Euro together in it, and then get it over to Schimmel Performance, who we'll talk about more probably in that video. Okay, last thing. This white Jetta was built for the SEMA show. Interestingly, Volkswagen has attended the SEMA show officially for a number of years, especially back in the late 2000s. And there's actually a set of wheels up there, which were from a pretty cool build done by the VW Vortex VW that was on the H&R booth. But there's 2 official concepts that were built back in the 2000s that have kind of been not forgotten about, but forgotten about. And they needed a home. And where would a warehouse be full of odd and weird Volkswagen cars and projects that don't really get worked on too much and kind of get forgotten about a little bit and then get brought back to life very quickly? Boy, that doesn't sound like my warehouse. I don't know what is. So literally tomorrow, I'm going to drive 7 hours to go and get 2 official Volkswagen concept show cars, which have been, made 13, 14 years ago. And they're going to be basically living here. I'm going to foster them, bring them back to health, just like they are kittens or a very lovely dog. That's a bad descriptor. But you know where I'm going with. These things need some love, and I'm happy to fill my warehouse even more. So that is pretty much your update for right now. Oh boy, there's a lot to do. I worked really late, cut the heck out my hands working on that until 1 or 2 a.m. last night, something like that. And then right now I'm going to jump right into this video coming up on the whole R32 explanation, because it's another car that needed some fostering and some love. And so that's a heartwarming one. I like it. All right, for now, thanks for watching. Thanks to Solo-Werks. Thanks to Suspension Source. Wash your hands, wash your cars. Goodbye.